Okay, ready? All right, good afternoon, everybody. We have a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is March 5th, 2024. The time is 4 o'clock. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Clerk, you want to open this up? You could just do the open public meetings law.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the meeting agenda was delivered to each member of City Council and posted on the Cape May City website and Cape May City Hall bulletin board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and/or video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Councilmember McDade.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
Mayor Mullick.
Here.
Deputy City Manager Justin Briggs.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen Schwartz.
Here.
All right, we just have one resolution on this evening, and that's to go into closed session to discuss the Cape May Point Court Services and our Park Mobile parking contract. Do I have a motion on Resolution 9203, 2024?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
The second.
We have a public comment on this. Seeing no one here, I'll close public comment. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
Councilmember McDade.
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes. And if Aaron's watching, we hope you feel better soon. Brian, thanks for jumping right in. Time is 4:04 for the record. All right, good evening, everybody. We have let me get to the right page here so I know what we do have. Okay. We have a work session meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May, New Jersey. We are here in the Cape May City Hall. Oh, okay, correct. I shouldn't have got rid of the first page First, I'd like to close the closed session that we just had. We will not be taking any action if you want to give an explanation.
Yeah, council reviewed 2 items in closed session and does not anticipate taking formal action tonight.
Do I have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right, good. We'll open up the work session meeting. This is a work session meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May, New Jersey. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. The time is now 5:04. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of City Council and posted on the Cape May City website and Cape May City Hall Bulletin Board. Notice is hereby provided that the Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember McDade.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Mullick.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen Schwartz.
Here.
Deputy City Manager Justin Riggs.
Here.
CFO Kevin Haney.
Here.
Council, any additions or deletions this evening?
I don't believe we do. Do we have any additions or deletions, Council? No?
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on to the Employee of the Month.
Justin, you want to take that away?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Dietrich is up in Trenton receiving an award for the city. I'll let the mayor speak about that, when it gets to that point. But our February 2024 Employee of the Month was Donna Roth. Unfortunately, she's not here with us tonight, but I'm going to read a little bit about her from our department head and what her coworkers said about her. Since 1994, Donna Roth has been a wonderful asset to the city of Cape May. Starting in the recreation department, Donna was a Camp Cape May counselor and part of the roller skating crew. 30 years and many hats later, she is an administrative assistant for the water and sewer department. Donna is extremely organized and is quick to help with any task when asked, but her most important asset to the department is customer service. She goes out of her way to assist each and every customer with kindness and respect. Donna resides in Irma with her husband Luke and children Cadence and Chase. In her spare time, Donna enjoys gardening, camping, and spending time with her family. The city of Cape May is lucky to have such a hardworking and dedicated employee with as much knowledge to the city as Donna Roth. Some comments from her coworkers included, always has a smile, pleasant to work with, and has a wonderful personality, goes above and beyond to help residents, has excellent customer service skills, goes above and beyond for the water and sewer department, but always lends a hand to the public works department, maintains a consistent high level of productivity, handles a lot of tasks efficiently and professionally, and is a very diligent worker. So Donna Roth is our February 2024 Employee of the Month.
That's great. Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Donna, and your whole family who have been highly involved in the city of Cape May, so we thank you very, very much. And just on the note, Justin, welcome again, and thank you for fulfilling the role here as our Deputy City Manager. And I do want to thank the Historic Preservation Commission. They're up in Trenton with our city manager, and are receiving a really nice award, being recognized by the state, which is wonderful. And it follows, I know, the CCA just received an award too on their recognition for their publication of Black Voices of Cape May, a Feeling of Community, which was another wonderful award. So Cape May is well represented in Trenton tonight, and I just thank all the volunteers. I see several of them here right now, so thank you. With that, can we get an update from the city manager? Deputy City Manager?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Just 2 points. Just want to thank everyone for their patience with the detour, with the Lafayette sewer work that is going on. I know it's pretty extensive out there, but we just wanted to say thank you for everyone's patience as that project goes on. And all the projects are on schedule and should be done by mid-May. And that's it, Mayor.
That's great. City Solicitor, any updates?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor, other than I just wanted to draw council's attention to the first resolution on the consent agenda, and that is the resolution establishing the Mount Laurel Subcommittee. And council will remember that we appointed special counsel at the beginning of the year to start planning for our affordable housing obligations in connection with round 4, which is the Mount Laurel litigation. And this is, I think, a step in the right direction and going to put the city in the best planning space going forward, addressing obligations and potentially some opportunities that may come up to address those obligations going forward.
That's great. Thank you.
Mr. Roush, oh, you can't hear? Okay. Chris.
Chris, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. I used to just eat the microphone, and now I'm too far away from it. So I'll just repeat that. I wanted to draw council's attention to the resolution establishing the Mount Laurel Subcommittee, which is the first resolution on the agenda. And council had taken this step at the beginning of the year at mine and Mr. Dietrich's recommendation to appoint special counsel to address the city's round 4 obligations, which is the statewide affordable housing litigation. So this is in furtherance of that, and it is part of the city's overall effort to address its affordable housing obligations and potentially identify any opportunities that may be out there to serve the city's needs. So I just wanted to point that out to council. That's the purpose it's on here, and it's a pretty common practice in other towns where our special counsel has been appointed, which is numerous towns throughout the municipalities, or throughout the state, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Before we go into our ordinances, we did just receive a bit of sad news, and Councilwoman Maureen McDade, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to pass along to everyone that Barbara Caldwell, who was the past president and vice president of the Village Green Civic Association, passed away over the weekend. Barbara has been dealing for the past year with a long illness. She was up with her daughter, Michelle, and her grandchildren, and went peacefully. Michelle has reached out and is planning to have something more than likely down here at some point in time, and I'll be sharing this information with the Village Green community. She was also very active in Kiwanis, much loved, a strong supporter. So if I could just ask for a moment of silence.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I know we all echo those sentiments. She was a very wonderful lady, and we thank her and her family for all the service that she provided to the community. So thank you, Maureen. I did promise to give an update on roads. I didn't know the city manager wouldn't be here, but I'm going to kind of try to fly through a few things. But before we do that, I did just want to address a quick front page article in the Star and Wave, which it's so important, journalism and coverage of local news, which you all know has been dwindling throughout the whole country, which is a sad thing. But I just want to make sure that we have the right information out there. The article kind of seemed to indicate that there was some mystery as to the bond for the convention hall, which just is not the case whatsoever. And in fact, many of you probably remember that you voted on that bond. So all of you voted to have that bond and to build that building. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that we didn't find a bond in a closet and say, oh, shoot, we have to pay this. It's quite the opposite. And in fact, that bond will be being paid off in 14 years. And I think some credit is due to the Mahaney administration and the folks that were involved there that decided to do that bond on a quick basis that that will be paid off in the next 3 years. So when I read the article, I was a little taken back because I thought, well, this is a positive thing. We're going to be paying off this wonderful building in a matter of 3 years. So we'll have this big building on the beach without any debt. I just want to kind of also just say, we all know there's been some controversy along the way in Convention Hall, and we haven't kind of done a big grand reopening, and maybe when we pay that bond off, we actually should. But I do want to say, I think we have to take pride in that building. It's a beautiful building. It certainly could be dressed up on the facade, and frankly, that's something I just wanted to mention tonight. But really to say, you go in that building, it's very comfortable for the events that we would like to have. Of course, we had options. Could we make it bigger? Could it have a kitchen? All those things. And one thing we can say is that may be available at a later date. And that can be decided by the public at a later date. But I just think it's something we should celebrate. And some of the issues that it had from the beginning, many of you are aware of the insurance issues that it have all been taken care of, and all of those things are now kind of in the past. And so I take that news article as a little bit of an opportunity to say to the town, let's have pride in that building. It's a wonderful building. And I asked to put this photograph up here because I think this is all what we'd like to see up there, of course. But Brian, if you could go to the next slide real quick. You know, this is a side view of course, the same building. And what you would see if you went further back is basically a big box, okay, which is what we kind of have today. If you took a similar photo from that same location, you would see the side of a box. All I'm saying today is that, you know, this has the opportunity to be a really wonderful building with not a lot of funding going forward. I'm not proposing anything, and anything that would be proposed would have to have a long conversation and, frankly, a lot of public participation. But I just wanted to say that as this is a good building. All of the issues that it had are in the past. Let's move on and kind of have some pride in ownership. So that's just a little aside that I wanted to open up with. Brian, you can go to the next slide. There's the front facade of the existing convention hall. And now onto the streets, if you would. Very quickly, when we first kind of came into office, we knew that roads were in bad condition, as all of you know pretty well. County roads, city roads, a lot of them were in bad condition. But not only were the roads in bad condition, but we had lead pipe, we had bad utilities that were over 100 years old. So we had a lot of work to do. And for some years there, we were basically doing 1 block per year of city streets. The reason for that was it was matching up with DOT grants that we were receiving from the state, which is a good way and an understandable way of doing projects. We get a DOT grant, we do it 1 block at a time. The issue with that is a couple-fold. One, I think you kind of get a diminishing return when you're only doing 1 block at a time. There's a lot of effort to get the equipment there, the machinery, all of those things that are expensive. Mobilization costs are very expensive. So you are really not getting a bang for your buck on a square foot basis, okay? Not that we do roads in square feet, but you get the point. The other issue, which is probably even more important, was we did a calculation and looked at every street. Now, you can't read this, and you might be able to read it at home online, but what we did was this is every street, and you can go through the next couple slides. This is every street in town and the square footage, which we really wanted to say, okay, if we're doing so many square feet per year, How many years would it take us to do the whole city? Well, when we did the calculations, it was over 100 years. So that's not a timeline that works to have streets. And frankly, even more importantly, what's below those streets. So we knew that we needed to pick up the pace when it came to getting our streets done and our utilities done. Go to the last one of these slides here. Total approximate is about 30 square miles of street. Or, no, 30, yeah. Well, I'll have to, okay. Oh, in length, I apologize. Yeah, I got you. Thank you. Thank you. So 30 miles in length. And we'll have to, I'll go through each of those in general, but the main point is this. We were certainly not on schedule to get our streets done. We knew we had to increase it. So you can fly through these, Brian. These are just some photos of all the street work that has occurred in the last few years. This is lead removal. You can keep going through. But I did want to read, too, as we're going through these. This was a note from Rob Kaminsky, our water department superintendent. He said, and this is just yesterday, our current inventory of galvanized services, so the state doesn't recognize the difference between lead and galvanized, just so you understand, is we have 77 known galvanized and or lead pipes. And he has updated that we have 0 known lead pipes at this point. We're in the process of renewing the utilities on 3 streets this year. That's within the 1,200 and 1,300 blocks of Ohio and Stockton Place from Beach to Columbia. This will remove an additional 59 galvanized services out of that 77. By the end of 2024, we will have 18 services left to renew from the initial report of 119 submitted to the New Jersey DEP in 2021. They have until 2031 to get all of these out. They are well ahead of schedule, obviously, and if they keep the schedule that they have, we'll basically be done within the next 2 years. I say that because when we looked at the need, what roads needed to be completed, we also wanted to come together with a formula for how we chose what streets. One of these photos, and I don't have to look for it, Brian, was the video service that we hired as the I&I study for the city. That service has been one input to kind of our formula for choosing the streets. What does it look like underneath the road? Number 1, does it have lead or galvanized pipe? That's 1. Number 2, what do the utilities look like under the street? Number 3, what is the road condition? And number 4, volume of traffic on the road. Of course, if you have 2 equal roads, one road doesn't have a lot of traffic, the other does, it gets bumped up within the formula. So I guess to get more to the point, though, of why we're giving you a little road report, of course, we're all, and I actually brought some hard hats under here if you guys want to put them on. Here, I'll take one hard hat, so at least I did my gimmick here. Okay. So we're all a little tired of the construction on Lafayette Street, especially, but you have to understand how important that is. Not only did we have still some, I don't believe we actually had lead, but we did have galvanized pipe. Some of the sewers were actually crumbled. Especially when you first come into town, you ever notice how there's always that puddle there? That was a broken pipe. So we've known it's a broken pipe. We never wanted to open it up because we knew we'd have a big mess. Now that's being obviously repaired. All of these new crosswalks, new pedestrian-friendly initiatives, of course, working with the bicycle and pedestrian group. But all of which is to say, we know we need to do these upgrades, and I know that was never the question, but as we go through these a very annoying time, just to remind everyone, these are extremely important upgrades There's a reason Lafayette Street wasn't done for a long time. We knew this was going to be an annoyance. But I am happy to report, and as the deputy city manager said, we are on schedule on Lafayette Street to be complete before Memorial Day. So it's been a long journey, obviously, but we are on schedule, of course, working with our friends at the county. With that, to get more into the meat of it, I'll ask our CFO to give us a little bit of info on some of the financing.
Right, so some questions have come up regarding the numerous road reconstruction projects going on throughout the city, and specifically their funding sources, so I just wanted to provide some information. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So like I said, some questions regarding numerous road reconstruction projects and their funding sources, so just wanted to provide some information on a couple of them. So starting with the 2023 road program, this is one umbrella project that covers Congress Street, Trenton Ave, Washington Street, and Franklin Street. The total amount of the contract for that project is $2.3 million. To date, we have spent a little under $400,000 with around $2 million left remaining on the contract. We included about $2.1 million of this total in our 2023 debt issuance, with the remaining being covered by grants, specifically a Department of Transportation grant for Trenton Ave in the amount of $185,000, a Neighborhood Preservation Program grant for Franklin Street in the amount of $20,000, and we are currently pursuing a 2024 Neighborhood Preservation Program grant in the amount of $125,000. Next, Lafayette Street Emergency Sewer. So the contract amount for that one is around $2.8 million. To date, we've spent around $1 million, so about $1.8 left on that one. Around $1.8 of the total is being pulled from issued debt, with the remaining $1 million coming from authorized debt. So issued debt is debt that is actually outstanding as a result of a bond sale, and then authorized debt is just debt that has been authorized through a bond ordinance approved by council, but not actually issued. And it might never be issued. There's the potential that we either refund it in the budget or then reimburse it through issued debt later on. The Texas Ave sewer repair by the Wawa, which I believe is on the agenda tonight, that total came in at a little under $17,000, and that is also being pulled from authorized water sewer debt. Reconstruction of Beach Ave is currently an open bid, so we do not have a contract amount for that one, but we estimate it to be in the ballpark of about $700,000, and that is going to be included in a 2024 bond ordinance, and again, pulled from authorized debt, not issued debt. And then finally, we have reconstruction of Ohio Avenue, which is upcoming. That will be included in the 2024 road program, so again, we don't have a contract amount for that one. But we have so far received 2 Department of Transportation grants totaling $395,000, again with the remainder to be included in a 2024 bond ordinance and pulled from authorized debt. So on all of the projects, we have essentially a mixture of issued debt, grants received, and then either future debt issuances or reimbursements through the budget.
Thank you, Kevin. I just want to highlight, too, on this slide here, of course, grant funding is so important to the streets. This is some of the street programs that we've had since 2022. 2022, we received New Jersey DOT municipal aid for Pennsylvania Avenue, Phase 6 of $185,000. 2023, New Jersey DOT municipal aid Trenton Avenue, $255,000. 2024, New Jersey DOT municipal aid Ohio Avenue, $220,000. 2024, New Jersey DOT LTPF Ohio Avenue, that's $175,000. And then USDA Rural Development Pre-Planning Grant of $24,000 for a total of $859,090. That's a significant increase over grants that had been received in the past, which is obviously another funding source for all of those projects listed above. And I do compliment both the engineers of Vince Orlando and Mark de Blasio, who have really done a nice job for us matching grants with projects while kind of increasing the amount of projects that we've taken on. But with that, we welcome to open up any questions on roads. Let me just say this, without our city manager here, if some of the answers we don't have at this moment, we'll get you the answers, so we'd be happy to do that. But with that, I'll open it up for public comment. And this is on roads specifically.
It's good to hear that a lot of people are concerned about Lafayette Street, because I often thought I was the only one, but I guess I'm not. I wanted to bring your attention to an issue that's critical to Lafayette Street, and actually I want to see some work done on it, and that's the turning lane at St. John's Place.
Can you go to that graph?
Because it doesn't, at this point, they're putting curbs up and down the street in all directions, and the curbing hasn't been cut in for that yet. And the second issue at that St. John's Place, there it is there. The second issue is to make sure that we have the underground utility, the electric, to cross the street so that we can put that light in there at that spot if and when we choose to do that.
It's still being planned and being done. Frankly, I think my understanding is within the next 2 weeks they'll start
Good.
the concrete for that. And for those who don't know, that's this slide here. We will be creating a turning lane onto St. John's off of Lafayette Street, which is important. As many of you know, in the summertime, that's where it can really back up going toward the Acme there. So, and also, you all know, probably, I would say one of the most dangerous turns in Cape May is coming off of St. John's and making, especially a left onto Lafayette Street, but even a right can be difficult. What this turning lane will do it only removes a few parking spaces, but it also increases the width of the street so that when you're going to make a left-hand turn off of a left-hand turn off of St. John's onto Lafayette, you'll have a very clear view of the traffic coming into town. So that's much better. But especially the traffic coming into town now will get into the turning lane and out of the line of traffic, which we think will help really with some congestion, waiting at that traffic light.
Right.
To answer your question, though, on the light, it is being wired. We don't have a plan yet. I mean, obviously,
It's all right as long as
But it's
as long
in
as
the
the
ground.
wire's there before we put the
Yes.
blacktop down. And that's also critical. One more point you could add to the presentation is that that's where the police station is going to be going. And so the design of the police station has to incorporate the fact that they've lost curbing, lost sidewalk at that point.
so not only the police station, but the park and hopefully a parking lot.
Right.
Of course, what we really wanted to avoid was people stopping dead on Lafayette Street to make a 90-degree right-hand
Right.
turn. That turning lane will not only feed, it's hard to see up there, folks, but you can see almost in the middle there, that is a apron driveway to get into Lafayette Street Park, hopefully the future parking lot.
And it's also my understanding, if you can see that little square that you have at the at Jefferson there, at Jefferson Street, that would be an ideal opportunity to put one of the things that they call
Indicator?
not an indicator, a speed bump, a speed table, a speed platform. And I know that would have to change the plans that we've already been submitted to and approved by the county. But going forward, those speed tables need to be at least 3 different places along Lafayette Street to calm the traffic down, because the thing that slows the traffic down now is the condition of the road. Now, when that road is paved, it's going to become a speedway. In particular, not so much inbound, but outbound traffic speeds on Lafayette Street quite a bit. So
I agree with you. It's not in the plan now, just as an
Right.
FYI.
I know.
But I agree with you. And frankly, it wouldn't be the first county road entering an island community that had some tabletops. So,
no, it'd be Stone Harbor has them.
and I think Sea Isle.
Cape May Point has them too.
Cape May Point. There's a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a doable thing, and if it's a question of just laying some blacktop down on the new road, that would be fine. But we need to consider that in the future, because that's going to have to calm that traffic on Lafayette Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on roads?
Stacy Sheehan, 928 Columbia. I just want to jump off of what Dennis Crowley said about that traffic light. And my concern is that I hope there's going to be a traffic study done before you put in a light, because my concern is it's going to back up traffic in town trying to get out, and you're not going to be able to get the fire trucks out onto Lafayette Street if that traffic starts getting backed up. That was it.
Absolutely, and frankly, with the county, we absolutely would ask for that. And the last slide, just for everyone's information too, I think it's an important one. It's because we look at financial indicators, and frankly, a lot of them for the city is good. I mean, you're going to see in the budget process that we'll be going through over the next few weeks that things are very smooth. Surplus is obviously up. But one other indicator that obviously is important in regards to doing all of this work and these projects is our debt ratio, which I have on the screen. The last 5 years, it was in 2018 1.579. I won't go through every year till now, but today it's 0.923. So it's actually seen a 42% decrease since 2018. So again, getting these projects going is important, but doing it in a way that doesn't increase our debt ratio is obviously really important. And I'm just happy to report that we're actually down in our debt ratio, which is great. With that, I think we can close public comment on roads. We'll, of course, open it back up soon and move on to ordinances for reading, for consideration.
Yes, tonight we have two ordinances for second reading and consideration for adoption. The first of them is 526-2024, an ordinance authorizing fees for use of electric vehicle supply and service equipment, EVSE, and make-ready parking spaces. And Mr. Mayor, there is a public hearing tonight.
Is anyone here wishing to speak on ordinance 526-2024? This is essentially just setting the fees for the charging stations that are already on. Seeing none, we can close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll make,
Motion?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Okay, next we have 527-2024, an ordinance to update the uniform salary and classification plan for the Department of Personnel positions in the city of Cape May, and there is a public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Is anyone here wishing to speak on 527, ordinance 527? Seeing none, we can close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
All right, next we have public portion on resolutions only.
Okay, we have our consent agenda. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent? Oh, I'm sorry, public portion. Would you like to remove anything, Stacy? Sorry.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, sorry.
Stacy Sheehan, 928 Columbia Avenue. I have a question about Resolution 11403-2024. It has to do with approving an emergency temporary budget on the current fund. It says including a grant award for the desalinization plant. I guess my question would be to, it has to do with, why is that lowering the current fund and not the water utility, since desalinization should be part of the water utility? And all calls should be coming out of the water utility.
You're right, it should be water sewer utility. I think we could update that. Is that possible? Make that change?
Is it?
Sure.
Yeah.
We can update that in the resolution, but this is 114.
Yeah. And just for the public, all costs associated with the water treatment plant or desal plant, all should go through the water utility, and not,
Right.
no fund should come out of the current fund. It should be a standalone.
Exactly. yeah.
Utility.
No, correct.
And then my Second question has to do with Resolution 11103. My question is, it has to do with a change order for the construction of Trenton Avenue, is how it's worded in the resolution, but I noticed that all the change orders have to do with things all around town. And my one question has to do with the removal of 3 trees on Franklin Street. We have a contract with Meniere's. I don't understand why we contracted de Blasio to remove the 3 trees on Trenton Ave, or on Franklin Street.
Well, it's the company that removed them is called
Part of the, it was part of
Forestry Surgeon.
Right, but we have a standing contract with Meniere's.
I understand that.
He
And-
probably had a sub, he just had to get it done.
Oh, so it did go through.
Those trees are already down.
Yeah, I know they are. And I guess I'm assuming that the shade tree approved them?
yes.
I was asking Shane, I didn't know because he was on the shade tree.
The shade tree chairman has confirmed that those trees were in bad condition and gave the approval for them to come down and replace.
Okay, so they will be replaced then?
Yes. And since we're talking about trees, the city manager would like to also see the city plant a larger, a little more mature, beautiful tree in the that field in the corner of Washington and Franklin at the post office land. Something big and beautiful that would fit in. So we're conscientious that any tree that does go down gets replaced either in the current location or somewhere else in our tree bank.
Okay, I just didn't know why that went through de Blasio, not just through the shade tree to take those trees down. It seems like we're paying a third person to do something that we already had a contractor to do.
I understand.
My next question has to do with Resolution 108. It has a change order to the contract for the fire station, Duval Building Restoration. I guess my one question is, in this resolution, it talks about the contract time will be unchanged by 0 days, meaning that the firehouse has gone over the time limit. And my question to the mayor, I guess it was, or the council, a couple meetings ago was, are we going to go after them for the fact that they've taken longer than expected to complete the building? And the answer to me was no. And I didn't know if this contract unchanged by 0 days means that you are also approving the fact that you're not going to go after any back charges for this company for the fact they took longer than expected to complete the job.
Well, speaking of loaded questions, that's a loaded question for council to answer. I don't think we're at the end of that project yet. That's certainly not what this change order provides.
Okay.
At the end of this project, the city's going to have to review the final tally and the project and, evaluate those types of things at that time.
Well, I guess with the fact that you're awarding the change control, so it means you're paying them more money with the fact that they could be owing you money in the end. I didn't know why we'd be still giving them money.
Well, we haven't paid them the full contracted amount, is my understanding. I have to tell you, for certain, Rob Conley reviews each of these change orders with a fine-tooth comb. So this change order puts us at a total of $5,246,893.78. My understanding is there's very little left in, if any, change orders. Look, the project's basically almost closed out. They have
Yeah.
door hardware that they have been waiting
Well,
for.
I mean, I wasn't going to bring it up, but additional fire-rated doors and hardware at over $10,000, to me, you should know how many fire-rated doors you were going into a building before you build a building. It's not even a big building. I bet, on two hands, you can count all the
We
doors.
could point out little minor things on the building all day. The fact is, it's under 2% change orders. So, I mean, it's, how much detail do you want to get in? I can tell you for certain that every one of those details that have been approved in public by council have been highly discussed, negotiated, and debated. Right? So some of these things we don't necessarily totally agree with, but there's give
No,
and
I
take.
understand, and I understand that point. I guess it was more of the 0 days that was in this change order that I was asking my question about. The contract time will be unchanged by 0 days. That was my,
Right, there's no change to the days provided for in the contract.
okay. Thank you for the clarification. My other question, I think, I just want clarification on, because I think it seems like it's a good project, and maybe can give more information to the public, and that has to do with Resolution 104, the support for the community solar project. It seems like there's a lot of money that's going to be available to the public, and I want to know if you could give more details so the public knows that these benefits are available to them.
This,
Well, I think that there was some information provided previously. I know I got something in the mail, and don't quote me, Stacy, but it might be called like the LEAP program, where people can call up who believe that they might be eligible, either as low or, moderate income, and then also find out if you could be eligible for some assistance for installation of solar.
Well, I also, when I was reading this, that's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that people can get a 15% discount on electricity from the community solar project. So you don't have to install solar panels.
Right, exactly.
And that's why I thought if you could give more detail, because I think people don't realize that, we get a lot of things in the mail. I think a lot of older people don't even realize
Agreed. Yeah.
what they're getting.
And Justin, I don't know if you have any more information. I just know that I saw it and looked at it, went online, only because of the population of Village Green, to see if there was some information I could include in a newsletter. A lot of this information is coming sort of fast and furious now that New Jersey is really being very progressive with trying to get more people converted to green energy, solar energy, and a lot of it can be very confusing. But Justin, I don't know if you have any other information.
Sure. So I can add, basically, it's kind of twofold. One, we're going through our Sustainable Jersey recertification process, and I believe it's the city's position that we're very proud to have that silver status. So we do receive points for implementing a community solar project. And then to answer your question specifically, there would be the opportunity for people, the users, to sign up for the program, where they would be able to, usually it goes towards the low to moderate income first, and then kind of anyone after that would be able to sign up. As the program goes forward, we are going to put that web information on our webpage as well, and at no cost to the city, the person that will be doing the community solar project plans on doing a citywide mailer to all the residents to explain that project.
Thank you. I appreciate the details.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
thank you.
Before we move on, can I revisit Resolution 114, if possible?
Please.
It is correct as it is. Stacy, you are correct. It is related to the desal plant, which is a water sewer item. However, all grants are recorded under the current fund, and it would then reimburse the water sewer. So it should be added to the current fund.
Okay, so you're saying any grants for the desal plant will go into the current fund first and then get credited to the...
Get reimbursed, correct, to the water
Water
sewer.
utility?
Yes,
Thank you for the clarification.
no problem.
Any other comments? Mr. Roush?
Good evening, Jules Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. Just a little thing, but the 11203-2024, the surf school, is there going to be a location that's identified with that?
Yeah.
Queen Street.
Queen Street.
It is Queen Street. My concern is, this is a 5-year deal. We're seeing such a change in the dynamics of Cape May. Will this be locked in, or will be there an opportunity to adjust these commitments in the future if the demand by the public is much greater than 4 or 5 or 10 people that are going to get instruction on riding a surfboard?
Does it say 5 years?
Yeah.
One contract for one up to 5 years. So I think the goal here is, and I drafted the contract for this. So the goal here is to try this out for a year, and then it gives the city the option to extend
Excellent.
it again. But it's a new concept, right? And I think the Recreation Department thought that this would be a really positive thing for the city of Cape May to try it out. And then if it turns out to be a positive thing, it would give the city the opportunity to extend it or expand it or, whatever the city deems appropriate at that time.
I think it's an excellent program. I am concerned that the next one will be somebody wants to open up a sailing school. These are all positive things, but we've got a limited amount of beach, and we've got an increasing population.
Sure. So I think this was a program, the genesis of this was a program that I think the Recreation Department thought that, this is something that the city would like to offer, and in lieu of undertaking all the resources to get that going, to open it up for an RFP. But this doesn't bind the city to open it up for sailing or kayaking or anything else. It's just surfing this year, so.
11403/2024. This is a desal change, I guess, but can we have a little explanation of what this really means, where to come from, and how is it going to affect the desal plant?
This isn't a change to the desal plant. This is a grant that we received that can be used for the desal plant. So we're just adding it to the budget to have a line item in the budget for it.
So are we getting the $750,000?
Yeah, if we spend the funds, then we can get reimbursed for the $750,000.
And is there a specific use for that $750,000, or does that get thrown into the kitty?
I can double check the grant award letter and follow up with you on that to let you know, but it is earmarked for desal plant.
Do we have any more information on the progress that we're making or not making with the desal plant?
I can give you, the engineers are still working on it. And to be honest with you, I don't know what percentage they're at right now. I'd have to look at that. But the fact is, the main thing is really going after some of these grants. Some of them, this is one, but some of them we've received some commitments, not as much as we would like to, but I think that'll be a more comprehensive discussion coming soon, I would hope.
And how's the communication going with the other customers that are participating in it? I mean, are they fully aware of what we're doing and what they're, and I don't know whether we know what kind of participation we want from them, but is that being done?
Everyone is absolutely aware that we're pursuing this. And I just want to answer, too, tonight on the agenda as well is the resolution,
On the water line?
the water line.
All right, that's my next question.
That is fully funded by the grant, which is great. The bidding came in just I think it was on Thursday. So that's another important project will be, this has no effect on the desal plant, so that's why one of the reasons we wanted to move this forward.
That was what I was going to be asking. That water line installation, how does that relate to the new desal plant, if that's what?
It doesn't, but it allows them to, my understanding, and again, this is trying to remember like 6 months ago from this conversation, but it allows them to open up a different valve and use this new line. But this line will have no effect on the desal plant, except that it will be a new line that's, exactly what the water department wants.
Thank you.
But that question of, is this going to change once we do the desal plant? The answer is no.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just add one thing, that Resolution 114 is an EPA grant specifically for design work for it.
Okay.
It raises a question. Are we designing this for our need, or are we designing it for the need of the 4 communities that are participating?
For the current users and certainly for the future.
Well, do we know what the future forecast needs are for the amount of water that we need?
That's part of the equation, definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other public comment on resolutions? Please.
Forgot to give you my name last time. It's still Dennis Crowley, 806 Lafayette Street. Speaking on behalf of M-Track at this point, I'd like to ask a couple of questions about Resolution 99-03. It's a sort of a parallel piece to an issue that we've been concerned with as a committee for some time, and that is the fair and equitable establishment of fees and services, fees for services rendered, and whether or not those fees should be escalated over time in order to avoid the prospect of them becoming stale through inaction over the course of a decade or so. So my question is, this resolution authorizes a lease of $12,000. What's the current lease with them?
There is none for that. There is none for that space currently. Do you know, just so the public's aware and that we're clear, this is for a portion of unused space
Right.
in the rear northwest portion of the Welcome Center.
Right.
And we have a dollar lease with the chamber, the nonprofit, for their operation.
Right.
That
and
doesn't cover the entire.
That whole complex of the Welcome Center is something that M-Track has looked at with respect to not only the lease between Chamber of Commerce, but also this new service for the rail lines and the use of the facility for charter buses coming in and out of town and what their fees would be. I raise it only because this also recommends that a 3% per year for the next 3 years escalator. It falls into the trap that we found ourselves in other contracts that we've looked at over time, and that is that plugging in a 3% anything turns stale quite quickly if it doesn't keep up with inflation. And our recommendation was that the escalators for fees that I think is going to be incorporated at least partially into the budget this year, that escalator would be calculated by something akin to the cost of living index or the labor statistics so that we can keep an accurate number. Plugging in 3% seems like a good idea in the short term, but may turn out to be ineffective over time.
So Dennis, can I address that?
Yes.
Because I think there's actually an escape hatch for this trap that we fell into. The lease provides that any extensions are at council's election. So it provides the opportunity for a 5-year term, but because we are the tenant, essentially, of NJ Transit,
Right.
there has to be an escape route for the city to get out of deals like this, so that, and to evaluate it on a year-by-year basis. So this actually provides that. We're only in
So
for a
it
year.
would be our option to renew.
Correct.
If we did renew it, it would be at 3%.
Right.
Is it too late to change that to some more reliable and defendable index?
It's too late in the sense of this year's RFP, but if the city decides that it wants to put it back out for RFP next year, it has that option to do that.
Okay, all right, I'll take that back to the.
Can I ask a question
you.
on that?
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor, was for the bidding process, which is obviously, strictly regulated, can we, instead of 3% within that, when we put the bid out, can it say CPI? I mean, I
Yes.
can't imagine it can't, but I just want to make sure.
It said 3% because that was consistent with some other practices we've done on leases, but and we're actually seeing that in some of our upcoming contracts.
Right,
that CPI
that's why I'm raising it.
basis. So, but this one was a product of some prior discussions. So we can look to incorporate, and we are in the process of incorporating that rather than these fixed rates.
Good, and since it deals with the rail service, we'll all get back on the same track on this. Correct?
The M-Track.
Very good.
M-Track.
All right. Any other public comment on resolutions this evening? Okay, we can close public comment on resolutions.
All right. We are moving on to the consent agenda. Matters listed under the consent agenda are routine in nature and may be enacted by one motion and one vote. Items will not be read individually unless removed from the consent agenda by any member of council. Does council wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
Can I?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Can I remove 112, please?
And
I would
Mr.
like
Meyer?
93, please. I'll have the chicken.
Anything else, council?
Sure you don't want my helmet? No, nothing for me. Anything else, council? No. Okay, do I have a motion on the consent agenda, council?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
All right, we are going to go to 93-03-2024. This is a resolution establishing a Mount Laurel subcommittee and appointing members to assist the city in complying with its affordable housing obligations.
I'll make a
Should I make
motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Go ahead.
I have a comment. I think we should make a revision to this ordinance. I think resolution. I think everywhere it says subcommittee should be changed to task force.
I think that makes sense, Councilman Meyer. Just in the nature of this group, it's going to be more in the nature of a task force, and it's not going to meet on a monthly basis necessarily. It is going to be focused on the issues that the city's going to have to address in the coming year regarding changes in the affordable housing and COA laws and our obligations looking at 2025 and the projects that are being considered in town that impact those concerns. So it's two of the members are myself and the Affordable Housing Special Counsel. The things that we'll be discussing are not necessarily going to be always for public consumption, so that makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had a question, I think, and if you can share. What would you say is the immediate charge of this task force? What are sort of the priorities? I mean, you've
Two
talked.
things.
Go ahead, thanks.
So one is general and one is specific, but they're both related. So the general is there are some anticipated changes to the COA laws in the state. I think a bill is either on the governor's desk, been signed, or very close to that. Regardless, that may have some impact on all the municipalities in the state are anticipating addressing what's called the Round 4 obligation in 2025. And that stems from the Round 3 and earlier obligations, which were the subject of the 2018 litigation that every municipality had to deal with. Back then, the city was proactive and was able to resolve that, resulted in various things like the spending plan and changes to our zoning code, et cetera. So we're, City Manager Dietrich and I wanted to get proactive with this and not wait till the end, but get started on this early. So that's why we wanted to get special counsel on involved in 2024 to plan for 2025, have the year to do that. So part of the goal of this task force will be to focus on the planning efforts for that and then addressing the city's Round 4 obligation in the context of all the changes and progress that the city has made since the settlement agreement. And the second thing is, frankly, we've had the Cape May Housing Authority is a part of that discussion. They were a part of the settlement agreement. They have some plans that they are in the process of working through, which inevitably impact the city's affordable housing obligations. So we want to get proactive and consider that in the context of our upcoming Round 4 obligations. So it seemed like the smart thing to do to get special counsel on board to review and plan for those issues and dive into the details a bit more rather than just the aerial view at this point. We need to dive into the details and plan for 2025.
So for the changes that might be forthcoming, do you anticipate knowing when that information, when, the governor may sign it, when it will go through the legislative body?
Based on the discussions with our special counsel a few short weeks ago, it seems pretty close. I don't, as I sit here right now, I don't have an exact update on that, but things are moving in the direction of changes. But we have a strategy and a plan to address those going forward.
Okay.
And there's going to be a clear process kind of outlined for all the municipalities throughout the state. If the changes occur or if they don't, we have, if they don't occur, we know what we're going to have to do, and if they do occur, we know what we're going to have to do at that point too.
Can I ask a quick question? Some of these changes that are coming about, does it look like some things that are happening at the Housing Authority as well as other units in the city, do you think that that will count towards our COA obligation?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the original settlement agreement, was that the city was going to not do anything to detract from that. And I think what the Housing Authority is considering right now is some, not only
Right.
refurbishment, but expansion of that. So I think there's an opportunity for that to go towards the city's round 4 obligations. It was considered in the prior settlement agreement. So what we want to do is get beyond the concept of that and dive into the details and really figure out what that's going to mean. And we're going to have to figure out what that's going to mean over the next year towards our round 4 obligations. So it seemed like a sound planning effort to get that going early at the beginning of 2024 rather than later.
Because there's a lot
Well, I
of
was
that.
going to say, I mean, it's one thing for it to have been the concept and had that accepted as, part of our, requirement. But now I'm sure they're looking for some more action since this original, settlement. Or, it's progress at least, I would imagine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just the thing. I mean, it is undoubtedly a good idea for a project, right? But then what we need to do on our end, we're the ones with the constitutional obligation to provide affordable housing opportunities. So, and among all the other municipalities in the state. So, but those two things are related, and this is an effort to merge the two and figure out what that means and how they can be merged. So this is a step in that direction among addressing our overall obligation.
And you and I had a conversation, Mr. Gillenschwartz, regarding the status of some of the current units, and you had indicated that Mr. Vito and Craig Hurlis are following up on both of those developments.
Yes, I've been in contact with Mr. Vito and Mr. Hurlis throughout that process as well. And they're fully aware of the phasing requirements under the COA regulations. And my understanding from Mr. Vito this week is that the Lafayette Street project was CO'd, so that's going to sort of clear the way for the other development. But that was certainly a trigger and something that they were monitoring to make sure that those phasing requirements were being met. Now, the confusion with that can sometimes come with, you see a building under construction, but that's not necessarily the trigger. Things can be built but not CO'd. The CO is the trigger for these things. So that was where, I think, understandable confusion. Frankly, you see a bunch of buildings going up, you think, what's going on here? Well, that's what's going on. Things can be built, so construction materials aren't lying around. But the CO is really the hammer and the shield that the city has to sort of make sure these things are staying on track.
Thank you.
We have, did you make that in the form of?
I didn't make a motion yet.
You want to make a motion?
Sure, I make a motion that anywhere in this resolution that it says subcommittee to be changed to task force.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments on that, council? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes. Do I have a motion on the amended resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember
I'm
Yeager.
sorry. Is everyone okay? No questions or comments?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
All right, moving on to Resolution 112-03-2024, resolution authorizing the hiring of a surf school instructor concessionaire through the competitive contracting process concession.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments, council?
I have a few questions, and I know we received something a little late, and I did not have a chance to go through this. I think this is a great idea that we're looking at a surf school within the city, but I have a few questions as far as like the insurances, which I'm sure is probably covered better in this document, as well as the hours of operation, because you have lifeguards that are on duty during a specific time. That could, trigger, something. Storms could be, coming up. I don't know, things like that, CPR, first aid, and I don't know if that's all covered in here, but if you can give me a brief overview.
Council may have an outdated packet at this point. And the goal was to get, because of the timing of it, the Recreation Department wanted to get something, the concept out for council as soon as possible, and then proceed with the details aspect of it. I can tell you that, and this probably didn't make council's packet, but there's certainly an agreement that would go along with this, and similar in the same manner as a lot of our concessionaires agreements along the beach. There is insurance and indemnification requirements consistent with our JIF requirements. There's language to provide that, you know, if the beach patrol needs to shut something down, or the city manager needs to shut something down, or move something, or alter something, you're kind of at the mercy of emergency management and public safety concerns to a certain extent, so that if we need to make some, you know, if it needs to be shut down, it's too rough out there, that's the way it's got to be. So, and as a practical matter, they're not going to want to take beginners out in those kind of conditions anyway. But that goes for in the water, operating in general, and then placement of these things, so that we don't want to interfere with any of the beach patrol and the things that they need set up. So there is certainly language to create sort of the rules of the road on the beach, and the rules of the road are essentially the concessionaire has to yield to what the city's doing from a public safety standpoint, in addition to the insurance requirements that are out there.
There was one note in here that it talked about being consistent with, I guess, incorporated surf school concessionaire permit terms and conditions. And I don't know, I mean, is that covered in here? Are we premature to vote on this and put this forth? I'm wondering.
That's up for council to decide. I don't know if council got, like I said, there is an agreement that goes along with this that is
Yeah,
pretty.
we
We got
tonight.
it this
Okay.
afternoon, and I looked through it, and I had another question, not to interrupt that, but are they also required to go through any criminal background checks in advance? I would want to make sure that a condition of any company that we contract it with, they're going to be dealing with children. So are they going to have to go through a criteria for criminal background and anything else doing with the, child protection laws?
So that would most certainly be the case if they were employees of us. The goal here, I think, is to
To subcontract
to
this out to someone.
subcontract this out, and
Right.
actually, there's existing surf schools out there run by surf shops, et cetera. Like each town has their own group. So that was the goal, to get those types of organizations interested in this and make a proposal to the city. And they're not employees. So
No,
the goal
I
is to outsource this, and, they are 100% responsible for their operations and their employees, and, that's the framework that's proposed here.
Okay. I'm just going to say on the record that I'm uncomfortable with us not having some hiring practice language in here, especially with dealing with, regardless, and I understand that they're not our employees, but they're operating under the imprimatur of the city of Cape May, offering a surfing school lessons. And it becomes a very fine distinction in my mind from the public's perspective as to, oh, they're employed by this person or that person. They're just not setting up a tent, and they're, so I would want to see some type of a language that understands the hiring practices of a company that's providing a service like this in a public area, that would be engaging with activities for potentially children.
One of the things that we could do is, notwithstanding that they are not employees of the city, they nor the people that work for them, but that their hiring practices will meet or exceed the hiring practices of the city of Cape May. That might be something that we can add into the bid requirements, so that that's a condition of the bid.
I would ask if that could be included.
Okay.
Then. Thank you.
I'm good with that as well. So I think with that, then look to table this until the next
Yes,
meeting?
I'd be comfortable tabling it, I think.
Okay. Do I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on tabling? And I would say table till the next agenda with the goal of, we want this to be To your
We wa-
satisfaction.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I just
Right.
want to make sure that we have the
Yeah.
time to go through it and make
Yep.
sure that the conditions and the structure around it meets the criteria that we all feel comfortable with before moving ahead. So if we can get that, incorporated for review at the next meeting, I think that
And
would.
we can have, a proposed final packet for council that doesn't come 5 minutes before the meeting. There was a lot of single-space language in there, so I
Yeah,
don't.
that's great. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second to table. Do I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Okay. Any old business?
Old business, any old business, council? City solicitor, any new business?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Deputy city manager, any new business? No, Mayor. Deputy city clerk, any new business?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that next Monday, March 11th, the Red Cross is sponsoring a blood drive at Convention Hall. You can sign up online right now, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I said it last meeting, the need is great. So if you can donate, that would be fantastic. You can walk in, but you can also make an appointment online. And that is all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. It is Saturday, I think, yeah. I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, any updates?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the city right now, between the firehouse opening, what's going on down at the Cove. We do have a lot of city employees that have a lot of talents outside of their job descriptions. And they've all kind of come to the, the forefront, whether it's the police department, the fire department, all city employees. They have communication background, they have construction background, outside of their realm of work. And I really think that, they need to be praised. I hear a lot of this out on the street, but I wanted to publicly thank people because I do hear that quite a bit. And that's all.
Talented group of people.
Yeah, beyond their scope of their job description.
Councilwoman McDade?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Councilman Meyer?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out to the public, maybe you already realized this, but a huge percentage of this agenda here has to do with green initiatives, and helps keeps our points up for our civil, status, and it helps us get grants. So it's important that we follow these guidelines. Also, the Cape May Veterans Auxiliary has got a confirmation date for a retiring of Old Glory ceremony. It's going to be the 16th at 10 a.m. at Kiwanis Park. They're going to have the local Boy Scouts.
Is that March 16th?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're going to do the demonstration. I've never seen one before, but there's a whole program to it. And for me, it's going to be an education, so I'm excited to see it.
That's great. Councilmember Yeager?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to, it seems like a far off, but happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. We don't have a meeting till after that. And kind of going with what the deputy mayor said, the recreation department came up with, and I don't want to credit anyone because I don't know, but someone came up with a really nice idea of it was not me, of doing the family roller skating for our employees the other night. It was a really nice event just to get people together after hours, and saw a few of you there, and it was just really, really lovely to see everybody's families and echo kind of your sentiments, Deputy Mayor, of we just have a really nice group of people, and that was shown well at that. Also, the water transmission line, again, an important project. Bidding came in under the number, and so we'll be fully covered by the grant, which my understanding is they'll start within the next couple of weeks. It will have no effect on water within the community, of course, but they'll be starting that soon. And then last thing, which was great news that I think most of us heard, was the Boardwalk Fund from the state receiving $6.8 million toward the Boardwalk Preservation Fund. And I want to thank the governor's office, our legislators in the District 1 who really advocated on our behalf. Just one of the biggest grants the city's ever seen. So it's really going to be used for a great purpose. We all know how important our promenade is, not just to recreation and a lovely walk, but of course it's part of our seawall and what protects the city. So I think it'll be money well spent, and look toward some really nice projects coming forward. And interestingly enough, in our application, you go through the photographs, and I think the application was really compelling, which I think obviously kind of showed through in the amount of grant funding that we received. But you do remember how many upgrades are kind of necessary, ADA accessibility and some of the cement, basic kind of stuff, but really could use a nice touch-up. So looking forward to that. With that, we'll open up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any issues, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and shoot away. Peter? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Peter Cole, 1075 Michigan Avenue. I've been sitting in here for some, over the last 10, 20 years or so, and my ears are not as good as they used to be. But I will say that tonight it's becoming very hard to hear you guys at the back of the class here. I'm sorry to ask you if you could possibly start to look into whether we can upgrade your system, maybe get these things to work, because we're really not hearing you. An example of that, actually, Deputy Mayor, and I apologize.
Do you want us to start over?
Pardon?
Do you want us to start over? No, I'm kidding. But to answer your question, Peter, we'll definitely look into. There's a audio equipment back here. Obviously, maybe as simple as turning up the volume. I don't know, but Justin, if you could take a note.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out, in trying to listen, you've got really quite animated about 10 minutes before the end of the meeting. The previous 40 minutes you were rather quiet. The Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry to pick on you, Lorraine, but when you were talking about the surfing instructor, which I really could hardly hear what you said, I heard the words storm, I think, CPR, and shark. But I'm not sure whether I'm correct on that. I don't quite know what I was hearing.
We need to be better.
But anyway, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, and we will address it. Mr. Roush?
Jules Roush, 1010 New York Avenue. I've got to echo what Peter has raised. What you folks don't realize is you've got one of these in front of you. However, you very often go, and when you change your position, you change what we can hear or not hear. And all you have to do is miss 5 or 10% of it, and, we're sitting up there. So you understand.
We'll look into it.
A couple of items. Do we know what the status is of the tennis club grant application?
I don't have that info offhand, but I can get it to you if you'd like.
If you could check that out. I understood that application should have been acted on last month, but who knows? The state grant, which I think is really great that the city got over $6 million. Do we know how that's going to be used and in what time frame?
I think the honest answer right now is not exactly. One thing just to remember is, and I'm looking at the date on this application that we made, the state announced the Boardwalk Preservation Fund in late August. Our engineers put together this 55-page document by October 23rd, 2023, and I really say it's comprehensive. It does lay out, frankly, exactly what we want to do, but it also, I think, comes in with a total number of, where are we at here? There's different phases. The total number of over $20 million. So obviously, everything that we have in this grant application isn't going to be done in one phase. But your question is exactly what we need to answer within the next few weeks, hopefully. But,
Will the public
again,
have it?
everything is in here. We can't do everything that's in here, basically. What are the phases?
That was the next question. If we
Right.
go over the 6.68, I think it is, do we have money to handle anything in excess of that?
It's a good question, and again, I don't know the answer just because it's so fresh. I think we as a council are going to have to look at this and say, are we going to dedicate any funds to this? And maybe the answer is yes.
I
Maybe
think that it's, at least in my part, a little premature to answer because, it came in at 20 million to say, let's do, everything on here. We have 7. It's sort of saying, okay, now that we've gotten we know what we wanted to do, now we have some money to go towards it. Do we take a look at it and say, these are the more critical things to work on immediately? And is there any funding that we think the city would be willing to put into it to bump it up? Because, there might be 1 or 2 additional critical things that we think need to be there. To be honest with you, Mr. Roush, at this point, I'm not prepared to answer that. We have to look through the document again and as a council, sit down and have a discussion as to what we think is the most important thing.
But there is no matching grant requirement, from what I understand.
no matching requirement.
In addition, the mayor did invite us all to meet with him to discuss our ideas.
Will the public have an opportunity to participate in the discussion of what the items will be?
Yes, and we actually did have a little presentation on this. I will say it was pretty quick. I understand that, which was kind of part of the whole process. But let me just be clear. This is like pretty simple stuff. I mean, and let me also be clear about another thing. This is totally separate from the East End Army Corps of Engineering project and FEMA project. And just to be clear that everyone understands that, I'm talking about the corner of at Wilmington at Poverty Beach. The Army Corps has a project going on that's been approved and is moving through the process. FEMA is looking at funding the city for where the Army Corps project ends to approximately Philadelphia Avenue in front of Kiwanis Club, which would be fantastic if we get that funding. Things look well, but importantly for the Army Corps project, they have adopted the city's design, and you're familiar with that. We've had several presentations on that. So I think when you look at what was in this application, it's a similar design that what's going to be done at the corner of Wilmington. It's obviously fixing up all of the concrete, ADA accessibility issues. It looks into the restrooms that are up there. It has some widening portion of it. And none of it is raising it over the seating design that has been well documented, which would increase the height by, I think it's like 2 feet 6 inches or something like that, but frankly below the dune line, so it would not affect any views or anything like that. But in any event, not being prepared to speak on this, but we have a lot of discussion as a council to go over, and all of that will be at a city council meeting as well. So we'll give a presentation as to what is decided.
Any opportunity that the short knee wall, I'll call it a knee wall, along Beach Avenue will be shored up because it's deteriorating to the point now where it's starting to erode?
That's in this, and most people can probably think of this, but maybe not recognize it. The main portion of our seawall is kind of I kind of look at it as like a World War II style, like bulkhead that you can imagine the parking meters on along the main portion. But then as you get further down toward the cove, it's actually the wood portion, railroad ties, basically. Obviously, same thing at the east end at Poverty Beach. That's all being addressed through the Army Corps and FEMA project. This project's looking more at the west end, southern end of town, toward the Cove. And yes, the railroad ties are addressed as part of this project. Again, that's part of the $20+ million project that we're going to have to discuss now that we know how much we have.
Just two more items. The library is coming close to a finality. And do we have a final figure on what the city's obligation is going to be for that project?
I don't have it in front of me right now. We can get that number for you. It hasn't changed. We don't have any change orders.
Okay.
You know.
One other, just a very small item, but it isn't. Dennis brought it up. The city owns the Washington Street Mall. We haven't had an increase in the rents in, I think, almost 15 years. It's time that we recognize that asset that belongs to the city, and it's enabled our restaurant beverage business to be very, very successful. And now with an extended season, it's going to be more and more beneficial to them. The city needs to benefit from being the owner and get a responsible rent and tie that in to the CPI as well as all the other rental property. Thank you.
And just to answer that Joel's is being considered with kind of all of our fee schedules is, yes. Thank you.
Mayor, real quick before we move on too far, for the Boardwalk Preservation Grant, it's not a 100% match, but there is a 10% match in that.
Yeah. I think the 10%'s over the 2.8 though. It just, if I'm correct, like it goes further, to our total number, I think.
Yeah, I would have to look more specifically into the details, but I just wanted to make sure that it was on record and.
We'll come up with the 10% to make sure we get it.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. To expand on that, the Boardwalk Preservation Grant, you mentioned that there was a presentation on the projects that were proposed. Can you see what that was? Because I don't remember that ever being done.
I don't have it, and we literally just received word of this a couple days ago. So, but we will have a lot of public comment on this.
Okay, because I guess my question is, it seems to me that it would be money spent like on bathrooms. I didn't know if we were, going to sneak in the arches there to be put on the boardwalks with this money.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm not really speaking for anyone else, but this is grant money that's supposed to be preserving or
It's not even in the
Promenade.
application.
Yeah.
We
Well,
have
see,
to go by.
I didn't know what was in the application because you said there was a
We
presentation.
have to go
and
through
I
the
must have missed it.
Yeah.
Well, look, we just got $6.8 million. It was a good application that we had to throw together very quickly. It covers the necessary upgrades to the promenade. As many of you know, promenade a lot of it was built after the 1962 storm and hasn't had a lot of updates since. So it needs a lot of upgrades. They're very obvious. There's no secret laboratory underneath of it or anything like that. It's just honest upgrades to the promenade.
Okay. My next question has to do with the Atlantic Electric project. Has that been completed? Atlantic City Electric.
The substation?
The substation.
The substation's complete. The landscaping is not.
I know, 'cause I noticed there's no sidewalk in it yet.
So they have to, and I give a lot of credit to Mr. Meyer, who's been working on that and pushing them. They have committed to do it, to do both the road, the sidewalk, and landscaping, hopefully this spring. They have a application into the DEP, so they're waiting for approval from the DEP for the sidewalk, and that's the only reason they haven't already bid it out to do this spring.
Okay, that was my thing. And then I just want to ask a follow-up question to Mr. Roush's question about the library costs. It was my understanding that when there's change orders came in, that the council took a stance that they wouldn't be committed to over $2 million for the project. Has that changed, that the city's going to put in more than the $2 million that they said they would put in?
I don't know. I have no idea. We don't have a change order.
But there was, I mean, we know that the library is almost up to $10 million. So that's more than $2 million that the city promised. So my question was, are we going to, as a city, are you going to put in more than the $2 million that you originally said you weren't going to go over?
I have no idea, but we haven't been asked for any change orders.
There was change orders in the very beginning, a couple years ago,
Sure.
that brought up the, Califano had a change order for his
I didn't say
fees,
that there weren't
and then-
change orders. There's certainly been change orders. They've been well discussed here at the table. I'm unaware of any change orders since. I would assume that there will be, to be honest with you. I mean, most projects, when they come to a completion, there's, hey, we need a switch here, and we didn't have it on the plan or whatever. So
I'm not talking about switches, I'm talking about millions of dollars more than what we had committed to of $2 million.
if there was millions of dollars in change orders, I'm sure it would be well discussed up here, and I'm unaware of any of that.
Okay.
They
They were
I
discussed.
think the resolutions that you're referencing reference an intent to move forward with the project, but not amend the shared services. And I think you were on council when we did one.
That's why I was bringing it up, because I do remember of us saying we're not going to go over the $2 million that we had committed to.
Right. It's a $2 million, and then there's a $300,000 kind of buffer in there. But, yeah, the resolutions contain language of,
You gotta go.
yes,
You gotta get closer.
I'm sorry, this is exactly what was people were complaining about earlier. The resolutions contain language referencing that we're not amending the shared services agreement, but yes, move forward with the contract so that the city's commitment remains what's in the shared services agreement. I think what the mayor is referencing is we haven't been asked to change the shared services agreement at this time.
That's all I wanted, clarification. Thank you. One last question having to do with, we talked about a lot about affordable housing tonight with the Medford Lakes Task Force and everything. I just want to follow up on that Lafayette Street project for affordable housing. How's that moving along?
I mentioned that earlier, actually, Ms. Shiana. The construction official indicated that project's been CO'd, which is what the city was looking for to make sure that the phasing requirements were being met and kept on schedule.
Okay, thank you. We have a hard time hearing.
Still?
Just on that one.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to say on the library project that things are going really smoothly. So I just don't want people to think that we're not addressing something that I have no idea. So I just want people to know that the project is going very smoothly. The building looks beautiful, and we don't have any change orders right now, just to be very clear. And again, I'm not saying that there won't be. I would assume that there will be as we get closer to the finish, but nothing of any significance that is. I just want to be clear. I have no idea what big things may come. Don't think they will, but I would assume that minor modifications may be made at the end. Frankly, to upgrade the facility to what folks might want to see. So, with that, do we have any other public comment? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
The time is 6:37.